Hi, everyone. So, today I want to talk a little bit about kind of my personal upbringing with PKU and some of my thoughts on it. And I see a lot of young mothers and just parents of PKU children and caretakers in general ask lots of questions like, my PKUer is going through this. Is it because of their PKU? And it'll be something that isn't dietary or even necessarily behavioral. And I just kind of want to give my own personal thoughts on that. As a child, I don't feel like I was treated differently than other children in any respect other than just my diet. I was just fed differently than other kids. If I got sick, my parents never thought it was because I had PKU. And in fact, I've always kind of had an ego about my immune system. I think I have a pretty strong immune system. I don't think I got sick any more than any of my brothers and sisters did. Sometimes I felt like I got sick less than my brothers and sisters. Um, so I think in the case of special treatment, and I don't mean special treatment in that you're treating your kids so differently from other children. I basically just mean when a situation arises, do you think it's because of their PKU or is it just a normal kid thing? Um, the one thing my mom said that was different about me when I was a baby and a toddler and a little kid is just that I was always hungry. Um, I I get that. I still am always hungry. I always joke. I never outgrew of that. I still am always hungry. Um, but anyway, as far as like when your kid gets sick or how your kid is sleeping, and then just select nutrition issues like how their body is growing. I think that a lot of that is more just an overall general thing. I don't think it's really select to PKU how fast your child is growing or anything like that. um, I don't think that my development was stunted at all by having PKU. I grew up just as fast as my siblings. In fact, I think kind of faster in some respects. I'm the shortest in my family amongst my siblings. I have two sisters and two brothers. I'm the shortest of all of them, but not by a lot. And I don't really think it has to do with my PKU. My mom is actually an inch shorter than me. Um, I've always had healthy hair. I've always had pretty healthy skin. For the most part, I did go through a phase of having pretty bad acne when I was off diet, actually. Um, but anyway, I think my point I'm trying to make here today is just that treat your kid like they're normal unless the situation calls for it. I mean, obviously, special circumstances are things like anything involving food is a special circumstance. If their levels are high and they're having tantrums or they're having learning troubles in the classroom, those are probably PKU related. However, that doesn't mean you can treat them or you have to treat them only as though they're PKU related. You could just treat your kid like any other kid with a learning disability, while of course keeping their diet in mind and being patient with them, which I think you should do with any child. Um, I I guess in my personal belief and with the way that I was raised, I think it can be a bit hurtful to treat a child like they're different all the time. There were absolutely circumstances where it was necessary to treat me differently, but I think that had I been treated with kid gloves or had I been treated as special from my peers all the time, that would have really changed the way that I grew up and the way that my personality formed and the way that I developed relationships with people if I was treated like I was different than other kids. Because believe me, I knew I was different. I didn't need anybody to tell me. I knew that. I mean, I remember sitting in a classroom when I was 5 years old and eating snacks and knowing that I was eating orange juice instead of milk and I was having applesauce instead of whatever, cheese sticks or whatever it was. And I remember having this really profound feeling as a 5-year-old of, I don't look like it, but I am different from everyone else in this room. I did not need anyone to tell me that. So what I'm saying is, in day-to-day life, treat your child as normally as you can. Um, like let them play, let them mess around and be a kid and do all the weird things that little kids do. And just remind yourself, PKU doesn't make us exceptionally different from our peers. Like if you think that everything that we do, every behavior that we have, and every tendency, every illness, every temper tantrum is related to our PKU, I honestly don't believe that. I think that when we were kids, we were just kids. We were just like everyone else. Like, yes, our PKU played into some of our, highs and lows with our emotions. And, when we were tired or when we were hungry or if our levels were too high, yes, it plays into that. But I think on a day-to-day basis, we were just kids exploring the world. We weren't, our brains didn't work differently. We didn't develop differently. We didn't grow up differently. We grew up just the same as everyone else. So, and I know I get it. Like, I'm a woman. I have a very strong maternal instinct. No, I don't have children, but I can only imagine how much you want to protect them and how much you want to keep them safe. But in my belief, it is only going to benefit you to treat your child as normally as possible. And to let them be kids, let them have all the experiences of growing up like a normal kid would, like their peers do. Anything. And I really admire all the parents who are out there and are trying to make their kids' lives easier and trying to help make their PKU lives as easy and as normal as possible. Recently I saw a post somewhere on Facebook in the PKU pages of a mom whose son was going to a party where all the kids were gonna decorate cupcakes, and she prepared cupcakes for her son so that he could participate, and none of the other kids even knew that he had a different cupcake, that he had different food. And I thought that was so cool. Like, there came a time where I was ready for the whole world to know that I had PKU, and I'm very open about it as an adult. But not everyone is that way. I think that that's very much a personal decision. I know adults with PKU who do not share that they have PKU. They'll just say, oh, I'm a vegetarian, I'm a vegan, or they just don't really tell anybody, And that's 100% your personal decision. In my life and with, my own self, I've found it helpful to talk about it and to, share my experiences with it. And I'm not shy about telling people that I have PKU at all. But when I was little, I didn't want to broadcast it. Like I said, I felt like I was different. I didn't want to make that even more distinct and drastic. When I was in like second or third grade, if I would go over to a friend's house, they knew that I had PKU. My mom would pack food for me to eat while I was there and make sure that I was taken care of. My mom discussed it with my friends' parents, and my friends knew. But it wasn't a focal point. It wasn't something we dwelled on. It wasn't something I had to talk about. It was kind of like when I was little, my parents took care of it for me, and I knew what I was supposed to do because I had always done it. Yeah, and I guess as far as being a little kid, just let your child be a child. Let them grow up normal. Let them have as many normal experiences as possible. And I'm not trying to say that having PKU makes you feel weird and it makes you weird, because it doesn't. In all respects, I was a totally normal kid. I did all the things that normal children do. I developed normally. I grew up normal. I had friendships. I had problems in school. Like, these are not things that only children with PKU go through. So again, I guess what I'm trying to say is, treat your children with PKU special only in situations where it's necessary. Because I think, when you're well aware the issue has to do with PKU, that's when it calls for it. But when you're like, is this a PKU thing or is this just my child? It might just be your child. Like, there are a lot of other environmental factors that might make your child get sick a lot, or make your child have temper tantrums when they don't get what they want, or make your child, whatever kind of temperament your kid has. Every child has different temperaments, even amongst children without PKU. It's not necessarily a special circumstance. It might just be the kid that you have, even if your kid didn't have PKU. So anyway, I just wanted to say I'm not trying to judge anybody. I'm not trying to tell anybody what they should do. I'm just sharing my own personal opinions and my own personal experiences. This is just how I perceive things. So, like I said, let your kids be kids, let them mess around, let them have fun, and treat them special when the circumstance calls for it. Um, Again, I just want to say to all the parents and caretakers and family members of these PKU children that I see every day, you're amazing. Like, you are freaking awesome. The amount of work that people do to help their kids out and to help their kids feel normal, or just to help their kids, I mean, the kind of foods that people prepare for their children are remarkable. Like, the amount of hours these parents and caregivers spend in the kitchen just to create these really awesome foods for their kids, that's amazing. Like, that is not something that every parent does, and that's just wonderful. Like, thank you. You guys are awesome. Anyway, that's I guess all I have for this video. Please like and subscribe if you're liking my content. Please feel free, to leave me messages, leave me comments, ask questions. I'm really open to requests. If there's some issue that you want me to talk about or give my own personal opinions on, share experiences, I'm more than happy to do it. So thank you guys.